Good evening and welcome to Education in Columbus, an Urban One virtual town hall. This is part two of our segment in which we are answering all your frustrations, your questions, your anxieties, everything surrounding what it looks like going back to school here and for some next week. I'll be joined tonight by my fellow colleague, Ms. Stephanie Hightower, the CEO of the Columbus Urban League, as we have some very insightful panelists as well. How you doing, Ms. Hightower?
Well, you know what? When you old and you don't know how to use Chromebook and know how to get on all these different platforms, but I'm great, and I hope a lot of people are with us tonight because it is a beautiful day outside. But we got a really important show tonight.
We do, and you know what's so crazy? Those same issues that you have getting on Chromebooks, I'm sure our parents and our students are going to have those same issues. That's why we're here tonight to help kind of ease the pain a little bit, to help kind of, make parents feel a little more comfortable as we go into this virtual world.
Well, you know what I'm going to say to all those parents, don't be ashamed. And so that's why we're here. And we hope that, Alicia Gillison will give us some tips and some other people as well, on how you can make this stuff work, because it's a daunting task for some people, and we know it, and we don't want anybody to be ashamed. So how about that?
Absolutely. So I want to introduce Mr. Melvin Brown. He's the superintendent of Reynoldsburg Schools. How you doing, Mr. Brown?
Doing well. How are you?
Man, good. Looking mighty dapper as always, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Hi, Superintendent Brown. Thank you for getting on tonight.
Thank you so much. So good to see you.
Absolutely.
Also want to welcome back Miss Alicia Gillison. She's the Chief Engagement Officer for Columbus City Schools. How you doing, Miss Gillison?
I am well. How you doing, DJ
Good.
Mr. King?
Good to see you again.
President Hightower and Melvin Brown.
How are you?
And definitely have to bring out probably one of the busiest ladies in Central Ohio, working crazy hours, I'm sure. Dr. Roberts of the Columbus Public Health. How you doing?
I'm well, thanks. How are you guys?
Good. Thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be
Hi,
here.
Dr. Roberts. Thanks.
You too.
Yeah, glad you're here. She and I have been spending a lot of time together, and I just really publicly say thank you to Dr. Roberts for all of her counsel and advice, and really being out there on the front line, her and her team, and especially being on these forums in particular to help educate the African-American community that we know our community is being hit by this, in a big way. And so thank you, Dr. Roberts, for taking the time.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. I want to start off, and this question would be for Mr. Brown. We're getting close to coming back to school. And it's like more than just around the corner. When we had this forum last time, we felt like it was kind of more broader questions. But now that we know what we look like into this virtual world, what can you tell parents that are feeling this sense of anxiety, this sense of frustration, this sense of just uncomfortableness going into the season? What do you tell your parents?
I would think on the front end, getting them to understand that we're going to do any and everything in our power to make this transition as smooth as possible, with the understanding that it's new for us too. So we're experiencing some of those same anxieties and frustrations. So being patient throughout the process, asking questions, feeling free to do so, and being engaged in that manner is very beneficial. We send a ton of information out throughout our district. It's important to read the information and be engaged with it. We typically try to accompany some type of video, which may give a snippet of what that's supposed to look like. But a lot of times the answers are in the details, so it's important to read that information and be aware of what's happening in that respect. But certainly feel free to ask questions.
So let me just, for folks that may have joined us, and I'm not sure because I'm a little flustered. Superintendent Brown is from Reynoldsburg Public Schools, and we thought it was important not only to have Columbus City Schools here with Alicia Gillison, but also to have one of our suburban school districts that also has a large number of our students as well, and are a part of this listening audience for this radio station. So just want to make sure, as you guys are listening to Columbus City Schools and Reynoldsburg Schools, know that these are two separate districts. They have similar plans, but different plans. Districts are different in size, but we know that a lot of African American children are attending both of these districts, and we wanted to make sure that we gave everyone a full opportunity to talk about what's going on. You know, one of the things, I was just sitting here on another call before this one, and to DJ Mr. King's point, I just saw on the news that UNC Chapel Hill has decided now to send students home. And, you know, this is one of those things that, you know, you start asking the question, you know, how do we support our children? So it real or virtual? So, you know, Alicia, can you talk a little bit more about what, you know, we're planning for Columbus City Schools? And how do we help? The bottom line is, how do we help parents feel comfortable about we're going to keep our children safe? Now, I know we're not going to go on for a minute, but you know, we're going to be doing virtual. But how do we talk about keeping our children safe, even while they're doing this virtually?
Thank you for that question. And thank you for having me on this format and with these amazing guests that you have here. Safety is number one. Safety is number one. And that's one of the reasons you look around, you see districts delaying, districts starting virtually. That's because we want to keep our young people safe. Now, as a parent, I get it. They're anxious, they're nervous, their students are anxious and nervous, and we're anxious and nervous too. So we are all in this together. So what we are currently doing for parents and what parents can do, there's a lot of information out there. We host, and it's not just for Columbus City Schools parents, any parent that wants to come on to our virtual family engagement hour, come on, get some tips, tools, and strategies that you can use at home with your young people, social emotional tips, counseling tips, how to navigate Chromebooks, right? So we'll be doing our big Chromebook giveaway, loaning them out to our students. You know, how do you turn a Chromebook on? And then once you get it on, how do I get on those platforms that students will be using? This isn't only for students, like we're holding orientations for parents as well. So that when Johnny says, I don't know how to work that thing, Mom, she can say, move over, Johnny, this is how you do it. And she can get them on. So I think the more we can help our parents feel comfortable, well, as comfortable as can be. Because once we get started and everyone realizes we're in this together, Superintendent Brown said it. If you have questions, call, contact us, because we are all in this together, and don't feel like any question is too simple. If you have a question about your child and your child's safety, please pick up the telephone.
I want to follow up with that. So we know that the students are going to be obviously learning remotely from home. How are you guys doing it in each district in terms of your teachers? Are the teachers actually teaching from their classroom, or would the teachers be teaching from home? Because I know every school district has did something a little bit different. And how do you feel like that affects the quality of education that a child will be given?
For us, for the most part, everybody will be in buildings and teaching in classrooms. There'll be some exceptions due to medical issues or what have you. But we thought it was important to give our kids at least some semblance of what education looks like typically for them. They can be familiar surroundings with the classroom, the comforts of it, the foundation and the support that we have within our buildings and throughout our district is a very strong system that will allow for good dialogue when we're actually doing things online. They won't have glitches such as I had earlier on my internet. We felt it was important to have those things in place. And, you know, we think the transition to come back to school, whenever that is, will be a little easier in that regard as well.
All right. And in Columbus, we have to think that some of our teachers, because of medical concerns or medical conditions, will not be able to teach in their classrooms for whatever reason. But what we have done, we sent out a survey to our staff members because they have to feel comfortable, right, in order to be able to connect with kids. So right now, we are still teasing that out. But what I can tell you is that August 24th, all the way up until the start of school, we're going to take 10 solid days for professional development, how to keep our kids engaged. And while we're working with the teachers over here, My department, the Department of Engagement, will continue engaging with parents, and we're even going to engage with students. We want everyone to feel as comfortable as they can at this point so that we can all start off on the right foot.
So we have a lot of folks still that are saying, why didn't they open up the schools? Why are we doing this? And like I said earlier, you see one college already is shutting down. So Dr. Roberts, and I know, for political reasons, you can't say yes, no, that's not, because that's not your job. But we know that science does speak truth, all right? And we need for the African-American community, the Black community, to understand that science is first and foremost. And so for those individuals who are saying there isn't a pandemic, or for those people who are not wearing masks, if you look at the number of people who are getting sick, who are dying across the country, they are people of color. So Dr. Roberts, can you sort of say to folks, we've made a decision in most of our districts not to go to school, and for this first part of it, why do you think they made that decision? Is it based upon the science?
Well, thanks again for having me. And yes, if I had to answer that quickly, I'd like to believe it's because of the science. I mean, you both heard our representatives from both Reynoldsburg and the city of Columbus say they were worried about the safety of their students as well as the safety of their staff. And when you have 15,000 cases of COVID-19 right here in Franklin County, and that number grows every day, we have to be concerned about our young children who are supposed to be going to school in a safe environment to learn. But most importantly, our staff, our teachers, and all the support staff who are going to be taking care of them while they're in school. Mm-hmm. And then we also have to worry about the families that they're going home to. Yes. So we keep hearing all this data that, oh, kids don't get sick or kids don't exhibit symptoms. Kids do get sick. Kids do exhibit symptoms. We don't know how sick they get, how frequent the kids get sick, because we've had these kids in a cocoon for the last 5 months. Right. We took them out of the classroom. We've taken them away from their friends. And so here in the United States, we don't know a lot about what kids can do when they're in a large group settings like a classroom. We've seen examples of some of that with the school in Georgia, the summer camp in Georgia where virus was transmitted. But we don't know. And, I hate to say this, but we're all learning as we go. It's true. None of us in leadership, none of us who are making these decisions right now have ever lived through a pandemic before. We've never been through anything like this. And this is a novel virus, a new virus. We're learning more about every single day. And school districts that have made the decision not to bring their kids back into the classroom for the first part of this school year are making that decision because they're worried about the safety of their students and their staff, and they don't want their students nor staff to be guinea pigs. Mm-hmm. They want us to learn. They want us to understand this virus more.
Right. I agree with that. And I also want to encourage our viewers, if you have any questions at all, feel free to type them in the comments, whether you're watching on mycolumbuspower.com, our Facebook pages, anywhere. Feel free to ask your questions, voice your frustrations, and we'll definitely have some of our panelists answer them. But I want to piggyback off something that you said, Dr. Roberts, about having our students. They've been in cocoons for the last 5 months. So Mr. Brown, Ms. Gillison, Dr. Roberts, how do you guys feel like, what does this look like going forward? Not later this year. I'm talking 5 years, 10 years down the line, because we have essentially, even when we come back to school, you really not at the grade level that you're supposed to be if you're not getting every single thing that you need education-wise. Do you see it being a year or two to really get kids back to their appropriate grade level in terms of where they're supposed to be performing at? Do you see high cases of special education numbers increasing over the next 5 to 10 years? Do you see ADHD increasing, vision problems, staring at the computer all the time, back issues because I'm hunched over for hours? I'm saying there's a lot of underlying factors that can tie into this that we may not even consider, because we're obviously right now focusing on COVID and the coronavirus.
Yes. DJ Mr. King, we are entering a brand new frontier, right? So there are a lot of opportunities that are opening up for us virtually, you know, as you talk about educating our students and being able to work together. And then there are times, and there's that unknown, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think right now what we have is an opportunity, and what we're doing, and I'll let Superintendent Brown speak about it, but we're going to evaluate all of our students to see exactly where they are. And then once we see where they are, whether that is on a social emotional level,
Right.
whether that's on an academic level, then we are going to go and meet them where they are. So there are resources out there. We have community partners who are pushing in. You're talking about the social emotional realm, Nationwide Children's Hospital with their site-based clinics, and the mobile units going all around the city. So the one beautiful thing about Columbus right now is everybody is pushing in. I can't tell you what 3 years is going to look like now, but what I can tell you, last year, Columbus City Schools did not have a digital academy that was very flexible for that student that needs to work during the day or do something else during the day, and now they can log on in the evenings and still get a quality education. So it's a whole new frontier, and I'm pretty excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it gives us some opportunities to really look at education from a framework of building what it should or could look like. Because if you really consider it, if we're being real, our educational model is still built upon what we were doing in the late 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
At all. So this gives us an opportunity to really kind of break the mold and start from scratch to do some new and different things, because that model didn't work for all kids, and we know that.
Mm-hmm.
So how are we going to revolutionize this so that we can actually put something in place that works really well for our kids? One of my concerns with all of our kids being home and with the computers and whatnot is obviously the social emotional part of it. So we're going to tap into that from the very first parts of the school year when we start next Monday. The first week or two, we're actually going to be simply building relationships so that our kids being comfortable. I don't really want to look at anything that says content or math or what have you. We need to build relationships and then worry about the academics on the other side, because I think we can triage that and get our kids where we want them to be. We are fairly lucky in terms of when we had to close in the spring, because we were almost in testing season. And we all know, let's be real, we are drilling for a test at that point.
Absolutely.
So we may have an opportunity to do something really, really exciting and breakthrough. It's scary, but it's challenging, but it's kind of invigorating at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Dr. Roberts, what's your input on that? In terms of the medical side and things like that.
Well, when we get to the other side of this, so many things are going to be different. Our economy is going to change. We all know that. But really how we do so much is going to change, because we're such a, we're used to having a high touch society and being around people. And that's going to change. And the pandemic has taught us that has to change. So, you know, I anticipate we're going to see or continue to see a lot of mental health, emotional issues, not only in our children, but in adults as well. I anticipate we're going to see, you know, increase in homelessness, unfortunately. I think the unemployment's going to still be a problem. And then with that, it's going to be an issue with access to healthcare, because where do most of us get our health insurance? From our jobs. And if we don't have a job, then we're not going to have access to care. So I think this is going to be challenging just to get us through the pandemic. But once we get through the pandemic, I think it's going to uncover or continue to uncover a lot of other issues in our community, in our society, that we're going to have to address.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dr. Roberts is right on point. And we know that COVID just has unveiled and lifted the cover, you know, over a whole lot of issues in the Black and Brown communities. Before I let you guys go, you know, one of the things we also worry about during this time is making sure that our young people are being fed, making sure that there's still those lunch and meals available, breakfast and lunch. Can you tell us what both of you guys are doing to make sure that during this time period, our babies can still be fed, or they can, you know, find a meal if they need one?
Yes, I'll start, and thank you, Superintendent Brown. Columbus City Schools is going to continue with our grab and go lunch sites. Actually, we're looking at expanding those sites throughout the city. Right now, there are currently 15 sites that pretty much got us through the summer. But once students are back in school, you have to have something on your stomach if we expect for you to engage in the classroom. So yes, we will continue those grab and go sites. And probably by Friday, there'll be an announcement coming out on where those sites are going to be. And President Hightower, if I can just share really quickly, asking parents, I know we kill you with those phone dialers, those robocalls, but this week right here, this is the week that you need to listen. This week is going to tell you when to come and pick up that Chromebook.
There you go.
Right here is going to tell you when the first day orientation is for you and your family. So when you see Columbus City School comes across here, don't just put the phone down. Please listen, because this information is critical. It will be coming from your building principals, and that information will be coming out as soon as tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Brown?
For us, well, during the summer, we were basically providing a week's worth of meals to anyone who showed up. And we did that every day, going all the way back to March 13th when this began. This shifts a little bit for us because we're not a 100% free reduced lunch district. When the federal guidelines kick in what they used to be, we now have to service only kids who are free reduced lunch. Those are the kids that can come. Others can come, but they have to pay for lunch. So we're making arrangements in that regard. I'm really hoping that the federal guidelines are going to change to allow us to just provide meals to whomever shows up, because we know there's a lot of need out there, and it's important that we're able to fill that gap as much as we possibly can. And I think we have the wherewithal and the appropriate amount of support to make that happen. Our Chromebook distribution, we started last week. I dropped by 2 schools today to watch Chromebook distributions there. So those devices are out there, and the next thing we stepped into is how we can make sure 100% of our kids have internet access. And we think we'll have a plan wrapped up by Thursday or Friday of this week.
That's fantastic. Well, you know what? Thank you to all 3 of you. Again, Dr. Roberts, for just reiterating how important it is for us to keep our families safe. And thank you, Superintendent Brown and Alicia Gillison, for giving us that update. Remember, parents out there, we need to answer those robocalls. Superintendent Brown said they've been giving out their Chromebooks. But those kids who are also on free and reduced lunch, you will have an opportunity still in Reynoldsburg to pick up a meal. I'm going to say we know that we have Congresswoman Beatty out there who is really working hard for that next stimulus package, and hopefully Superintendent Brown, they will let up on some of those restrictions, and your young people in your district can also continue to have those meals. So. DJ, Mr. King?
Yeah, I would just say this too for our listening audience, regardless of where you're watching this. I know that a lot of times we live in an environment that we're quicker to check our social media than we are our emails or our text message or, our voicemail. So if you all could maybe just give like the best social media for you guys to maybe follow as a district. So maybe some parents can do that as well, where you will put your best information out. If you could get that to everybody.
All right.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you for that update. And let us know if you need us to put anything else out there.
I'm going to have them get it. What's the best social media for Columbus City Schools, Ms. Gillison?
The best social media for Columbus City Schools for parents, it's Facebook. For kids, it's Instagram.
Okay.
Right.
What about for you guys, Mr. Brown?
For us, the best for parents is probably Facebook. The best for kids is Twitter, at Ren Schools. Twitter's my favorite platform. That's when we get quick information out quickly as possible. That will always link to larger sets of information.
Okay. And Dr. Roberts, how can everybody follow you and get the information that we need to save our lives?
Sure. So you can follow Columbus Public Health on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can follow Dr. Mashika Roberts on Instagram and Facebook. And I would also just encourage everyone, I know this fall is going to be different, but we still want to make sure everyone gets their flu vaccine. We traditionally go into schools and do vaccines. Our schools aren't going to have our students in it this year, but we will be out in the community giving free influenza vaccines. So stay tuned. We'll be out and about in October, and it's more important this year than ever that people get vaccinated against the flu.
So what
Thank
do you tell people though that's apprehensive against that though, Dr. Roberts? Like a lot of us, like a lot of our people are apprehensive. What do you tell them? What can you do to encourage them?
I will tell them that the flu vaccine has been around for years. It's a safe vaccine and it is effective in reducing the flu. And the flu can be very contagious. It has a mortality rate. We lose about 40,000 people every year to the flu. It's one injection. Our nurses do it really easy. You don't even feel it. And you walk away, and within 2 weeks, you have protection from influenza.
Okay, well, I'm coming to your office, and you got to inject. I'm not going to nobody else. All right, I'm going to go.
Okay, I got you. I got you.
All right, hey, thank you all. I appreciate you guys. Stay safe, and have good luck at the start of the school year. We'll be seeing you around, talking to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
That was some good information right there, Ms. Hightower.
Absolutely. Especially I always like having Dr. Roberts on there. You know, I was going to ask her about, they said they can't get enough people of color to do the COVID trials for the vaccine. I'll ask her that at a later date because I know I'm not going to try to do no.
Listen, I went out there and got one. That thing, I feel like that thing touched the top of my head. I was with it, man. I don't never want to do that again. So as we continue on, again, we're getting a lot of good information out to our parents, our viewership, etc. So we want to bring on our next segment. I want to welcome Miss Joy Bivens. She's the director of Franklin County Jobs and Family Services. How you doing, Miss Bivens?
Hey.
How you doing?
My soror got our colors on today. Ever since Kamala got introduced, the AKs want to keep throwing out the AKs, so I'm just gonna throw out the Deltas in the house too. Okay.
We also have Mr. John Gregory from the Academy of Urban Scholars. How you doing?
How you doing?
Hey, John.
I just want to congratulate the AKA. My daughter's an AKA.
Oh, here we go.
And then we also have Miss Joyce Grimes joining us from the Columbus Urban League Head Start Academy. How you doing, Miss Grimes?
I'm good. How are all of you?
Good.
Hey, Joyce. Joyce, I want y'all to know that Joyce Grimes is the #1 Head Start administrator in Franklin County. I'm gonna give her all kind of props tonight. She was the first Head Start center in Franklin County to have a 5-star, and we have how many? Are all of us 5-star?
All 3 of them.
And you make sure you tell Director Bivens all 3 of us are 5-star. Okay. Thank you. I just want all the parents to know y'all can come to Columbus Urban League Head Start programs, and you're going to get an A1 education.
So
okay.
So now that Miss Hightower has made you blush, Miss Grimes, and set up all the information for you, can you help me? If how can I assure that my kid, if they come to you, are still getting this? What does a virtual education now look like from a Head Start standpoint? Now we know some of my kid is, I got babies and the 4-year-old that can operate my iPhone and tablet sometimes better than my wife, but how can I know that they're going to get this quality virtual education?
Did you notice that he said better than his wife? He didn't say better than him.
Not me.
Okay. I just want to make sure y'all heard that.
Yeah. Well, our Head Start program, the Columbus Urban League Head Start, is a partner under the YMCA Head Start grant, and we're going to offer 2 different programs. At one of my 3 locations, we're going to have in-person classes for 16 children to be able to come in person and get hands-on learning. My other 2 locations are actually housed at Columbus City Schools.
Okay.
So I don't have a location for them. So we are going virtual along with Columbus City Schools, and we will go back into the classroom once Columbus City Schools goes back in. So my teachers are busy putting together lessons, just like it's going to kind of mirror their classroom experience. So they will have a group time where the group of children will come on to probably the Zoom format, and they'll sing, they'll read stories, the teachers will do learning games with them. And then we're also sending home every bi-weekly, the parents will receive a packet of activities that will correspond with the lessons that we're teaching them. And then have some extra work that they can do during their own time. And then they will also get one-on-one learning time with their teachers so that they can work on specific skills. And then our parents will also have an opportunity to talk one-on-one with each of their teachers to help build that learning capacity at home.
You mentioned the packets going home. How important do you feel like, especially at that age, that it's vital for kids to still have? I mean, if I'm a 4 or 5 year old, I'm still practicing handwriting. I'm still practicing, grip of a pencil. I'm still practicing a lot of these skills, motor skills that I still need to obtain. So what do we do in terms of making sure kids still have those skills and qualities moving in education?
Right, and that's what those packets are for. And when I say packets, when it comes to mind, most people think worksheets. And we're not talking worksheets. We are going to be sending home packets of folder games. They'll be, we're giving each one of our families a kit of school supplies so that they have tools and materials at home that they'll be able to work with their children. But we're, definitely doing a lot of writing exercises. They're all getting whiteboards and markers so that they can practice those. So they'll be doing a lot of hands-on. They'll be doing science experiments. During their Zoom classes, they will have the materials at home that they can do the experiments right along with the teachers. So there'll be a lot of hands-on learning that we're going to be providing them with the tools necessary to be able to do it from their homes.
So John, I know you've been one of the strong proponents in town for in-person learning. And, we know that especially, you've talked about the fact that our young Black boys need to be in structured classrooms. So tell us a little bit about what the Academy for Urban Scholars is going to be doing during this period right now.
All right, thanks. I'd like to say that, first of all, more Black boys have died of gunshot wounds than COVID, and that's a fact. At Academy for Urban Scholars, we have already started our in-school sessions. We have a schooling uptown. We've already started. We've done orientation with all the parents and kids. The real issue here, and everybody, I think people don't understand, it's called depth of knowledge. And there are 4 levels of depth of knowledge. And the problem with having kids back on virtual learning is, in most cases, because they have not been trained in the beginning of virtual learning, got to have a real depth of knowledge to be able to use the virtual learning tools that they're going to put in place. So I can tell you, like 50% of our kids in the urban community are going to get pushed behind. So with the Academy for Urban Scholars, we're using a hybrid model. Our kids will come to school. And we know, and I don't know why all the educators are acting like they don't know this. When they went to virtual learning in March, from March to June, kids were very non-responsive. You're talking about parents not at home. So when do kids get on computers? You talk about parents not having an ability to even understand logging on the computers themselves, and that's a big part of our community. So we're having in-school learning. We've already started. We're having weekly parent participation to bring parents in and teach them how to use the computers. And so some of our classes will be in class, and some of our classes will be on computer. But we're going to make sure that we're touching kids face to face at least 3 times a week.
So with that being said, because we have, like community issues, what I'm saying, whether it's social issues, whether it's, economic issues, or just anything like that. Ms. Bivens, what are you guys doing to kind of help lighten the load of some of these frustrations, some of these, issues that we might have from a community standpoint when it comes to like engaging the kids or engaging the parents or, anything like that?
So first of all, thank you so much for having me this evening. As you all know, Job and Family Services, the pre-name, it was the Welfare Office. I think we have transformed that now, and we are a human services agency that not only provides food assistance and cash assistance and child subsidy, but we also put dollars on the street to support organizations so that they can do the work in supporting the community. So our job currently right now, we have about $5.4 million of investments with over 20 community organizations across Franklin County that do everything from after school to in school. We have about $1.1 million investments in organizations like Big Brothers Big Sisters, PACT, City Year. We're working with those organizations to see what will virtual look like so they can continue on in supporting our young people so they can be successful. In addition to childcare is a huge issue because people still have to go to work, but unfortunately with our childcare providers, it may look like a different classroom due to decreased classroom sizes. Our agency is assisting our childcare providers. We have a joint partnership with the City of Columbus, utilizing some care dollars to support our childcare providers so they can continue to provide the quality care that they had or all continued service throughout our community. And I want to make this plug just really quick. September 1st, it is mandatory for every center that receives publicly funded child care dollars to receive at least a 1-star so they can continue to see those publicly funded child care. We know that 40% of the businesses throughout the country that are minority businesses will not recover from COVID. That means businesses here. A lot of our business owners are minority business owners of child care centers. We want to ensure that every center in Franklin County receives a star, and we will support that by providing free online training, as well as we have technical assistance that we fund through a contractor to assist our centers in becoming star rated.
So let me follow that up because, like, you know, we are for somebody that might just be ignorant, a parent that might be, and I mean like just not knowing.
Good.
Just like, you know, you're driving down the street, we all see these star ratings on the buildings and stuff like that. We might look and say, oh, that's a 1-star. I'll never send my kid there. What is the meaning of the star rating system in terms of daycare facilities? Because I think that a lot of people may not know what that means and why it is important in terms of you wanting to send your kid to a star rated facility.
It is a mandate by the state of Ohio in partnership with the Ohio Department of Education. But what the star really means is the things that every parent wants: a safe, nurturing environment. But then it takes it a step further in stating that the curriculum is substandard, that every child, when they enter kindergarten, they will be kindergarten ready.
Right.
So we've moved past the perception of daycare. And what we're saying is we want our young people to be kindergarten ready, because when they are not, they are delayed on starting on the first day, and they always have to play catch up. Shout out to John Gregory and his organization, Calling Out Dads. When we saw through the Franklin County Commissioners, we saw that this conversation, it almost eliminated the African-American father. We partnered with John Gregory and NCOS and his organization to bring African-American fathers to the table to educate the community and say, Dads, you have a voice in this. We want you in your child center asking them to become star rated, because we want to make sure that the holistic family, including the father, particularly the African-American father, is included in this conversation.
No, and I think for, you know, anyone that's listening, this really important that we do have that we have Black men at the table as it relates to their children's education. And absolutely, and I know, John, a couple of years ago, I don't know if it was last year, you had walked their children to school or made sure that first day of school, and that is important. I think what is also important here is, and thank you, DJ Mr. King, for really pointing out, we know that, you know, it's really important that everyone at least has 1 star, because that quality is there. But we also know that a lot of people are not going to be full capacity,
right?
And won't be able to be full capacity. So, Director Bivens, what do we say to those child care providers who may not be, or they may be away from getting that 1 star? Is there any way we can help them? Yes. Can I send Joyce out to them? What do I need? Look, Joyce, I done gave you some more work to do. What do we need to do? Or who do we need to send people to if they're afraid that they may not be able to make that 1 star right now?
They need to go to www.stepuptostarrating.com. We want as many providers. There is a mandate coming down from the state of Ohio to encourage us as the child care administrator of subsidy to encourage families to go to find centers that are star rated. So that is coming. But again, there are resources to assist every center, home and center, to becoming star rated.
Thank you. So John, tell us a little bit more about, you guys have already started with Urban Scholars. And I'm just gonna, and maybe I shouldn't ask this question, but I am. So say if somebody, wants to get their kid into your program, what are the requirements to get them into your program?
We're a school, and I do want to let you know that we did have a in-person graduation. We practiced social distancing. We graduated 155 students. If you want to come to our school, all you have to do is call the phone number or go on the website. We have applications online, and we're a technology-driven school. So if you're interested in doing robotics or learning some other technology, you can do that. And we're a health school. So all you got to do is just call us and bring a roll. We are a school that really works with, and I can tell you this, we're very prideful, that we have a higher population of African-American males that come to our school. And a lot of them have been kicked out of regular schools or didn't think they had an opportunity to go to school. And if you're over 22 and you want a high school diploma, we can get you a high school diploma. We have all our teachers have master's degrees. They're all certified. They all have teaching certificates. But I think the focus is that we really do focus on, remember I talked about depth of knowledge, but we take students back to where they lack depth of knowledge and bring them up. There's 4 levels of depth of knowledge. And we go back and figure out where they are and then bring them up to where they need to be at. And I can tell you for African-American boys really need to be in an environment that's structured and it has some real structure to it. I have 35 African-American men that work for me, and we're all dedicated to making sure that the young men that come to our school are getting the quality education they get, but also mentorship, because 28% of Black children are raised in a 2-family household, 76% of white children are raised in 2-family households. And if we think as a community that having Black children home from 9th grade to 12th grade is going to be okay, I think we have already started to experience what it means to have young men who are in a non-structured environment out there in the city.
And I want to piggyback off of that, Mr. Gregory, and ask you, Ms. Grimes, because he talked about the importance of young Black kids being in a structured environment. From a Head Start standpoint, we also know that many of our Black kids, they won't even see their first Black teacher, or better yet, Black male teacher, probably until like late middle school, early high school, and the likelihood is probably like some type of coach or gym teacher. What does Head Start do in terms of trying to get by Black males in front of these babies from an earlier age, so they're not just seeing white female teachers and stuff like that, the same teachers that they'll see throughout the school? How important is that, and what does Head Start do to do that?
Yeah, it's very important to us too. And when I'm hiring, when I might have an opening come up, the first ones I'm looking for are the males. The male influences, because a lot of our children do not have that male influence at home even. And so, exposing them to that male influence, as well as, African-American women teachers. In Head Start, we are blessed. We do have, a lot of our teachers are African-American. We have a few males. I have one employed under my Head Start. Always looking for more. But so, and if we can't expose them in the teacher role, then we bring folks in from the community to share with children. We've done music programs with city music and brought in people of different ethnicities to be able to interact with the children and give them that exposure and that experience also.
So we do believe, DJ, Mr. King, when I've said this before, we are unapologetically serving Black people at the Columbus Urban League. And so as Administrator Grimes just said, she does look for men. And we, at the end of the day, we look for quality teachers, right? That's what is really important. But what we need to know as a community now is we don't have a lot of African-American men and women that are going into the teaching ranks the way they used to. And so how do we begin to, create that pool so that John Gregory isn't snatching up all the master's degree teachers in Columbus, Ohio, over at Urban Academy? There are all these young people, and I know, Joy in the Poverty Blueprint Plan, we talk about that level of diversity and how do we begin to broaden that diversity of not only teachers, but individuals in the human services arena. But I will say this to our listening audience, there's only a couple of and people that are online, there are only a couple of organizations in this community that their mission is to serve Black people. And that is the Columbus Urban League and what John is doing, not only with the Urban, what is the name? Is it, I can't never think of the name.
National Center for Urban Solutions.
Thank you. I always get tongue tied when I get ready to say it. And so that's why.
That's because you don't want nobody to give. You want to make sure people give the Urban League the money and not the National Center for Urban Solutions.
Okay, well, wait a minute, because Joy just talked about that 5.4 million that she dropped, and my name wasn't in there, so I don't want to hear nothing about that, John. You didn't say my name. She didn't say my name.
I'm sure you got some somewhere.
But so I share that to say this, that what John is talking about, he speaks truth about what's the need for our Black boys, and he is unapologetic about it. Director Bivens is trying to make sure, because she knows that a lot of these mom and pop, and I don't want to say they're not daycare, right, because that's not what they're not. We don't call them daycare anymore. That these providers for our young people, we know that a lot of them are mom and pop Black organizations. And so our hope is that not only will they go through and get their 1-star quality, right, step up to quality star, is that as business people, because they are small businesses, that they will also come over to the Urban League and go through our Minority Business Assistance Program, as well as we have a new business resiliency program, to make sure that they have the necessary technical support and possibly financial support to keep their businesses running. Mm-hmm. So I hope that there are some daycare providers that are listening tonight that are Black daycare providers, is we're putting all of the support and safety nets in place to ensure that you can continue to run your businesses, to make sure that you can serve our babies. Yes, Director Bivens. Right. Did you have something?
Yes, I just really quick. In order to support the schools as well, the Board of Commissioners, we're partnering with the juvenile court system. What we know is Black males overwhelm that system. And what I've done is we've selected family stabilization unit specialists. We've taken them for being case managers, mm-hmm, being very transactional. We've cross-trained them in Office on Aging, Child Support, Children's Services, Adam H. And now their job is to, when those families interface with that system, it's a very high-touch system. So if grandma goes in with a 14-year-old boy for truancy, it is this team's responsibility to ensure that grandma gets her home modifications, as well as who else lives in that home, so that we can get them the services that we need. We will continue to partner with our contractual partners to make referrals, but we are expected to have, from the judge's perspective, we don't know what truancy is going to look like, but we still have truant children, unfortunately. But also unruly filings are expected to go up just because of the virtual space. So we either are transforming our business model so that we can address the needs of the community in that space as well.
So I want to ask you this, then Ms. Bivens, and this can also go to you, Ms. Grimes and Mr. Gregory. Moving into this virtual world, right? And as a teacher, let's say, we all in class, we're on these Chromebooks. So, the teacher is like, hey, everybody has to have their cameras on, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to see, like you said, we're going to see an increase in, reports for, child abuse or anything of that nature, you know what I'm saying? Because essentially we, as teachers, we have an invasion of a somewhat of a privacy, and we have a look into a child's household. How do we find a balance of when it's like, hey, this could be just a cultural difference that you don't understand that in the background, mom might have to be yelling at a 3-year-old kid to sit down because, your brother is on there versus, oh my God, I can't believe that this happened. This is child abuse, or a case where it really might be child abuse or, poor living environments. What are you guys doing to help balance that out to make sure that it's not overwhelming, but we're not underserving as well?
Well, go ahead, Joy.
I think, let me be honest. Let me just say this. There's the joy voice that you're hearing for this show, and there's the mama voice that you're going to hear something different when you come into my house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it may not sound appeasing to most people, but it's not abusive. It's
right.
To raise my voice. I think, to be honest with you, DJ, Mr. King, that raises a good point. We need to bring everyone to the table who polices those types of situations to get them to understand that it's not abusive. It is just, I'm raising my voice.
Mm-hmm.
I think that what Joyce said is true, and I think like in our environment, we provide every kid an engagement coach who engages with the family and knows the family. We know if their rent is paid. We know if who their grandmother is, and I think that really, and we're offering this proposal to Columbus Public too to create engagement. It's really about community engagement, and so I think that when you know your students and you know their families, you know exactly what's going on. So with every student that we have, we know exactly what's going on in their life and in their families. And we, in the relationships, and I know they do this at start, relationships with the families, you will really be able to detect what is abuse and just what it is family environment.
Mm-hmm.
And with our families and with this virtual that we're doing, we're touching those families every day. So there is a Zoom class for those children every single day of the week. And so you're seeing them on a regular basis. You're seeing the environment at the home. So you'll know if it's, just a one-time mom, kind of had to yell at some children, or if you see that as being a constant. If the children are, just kind of lethargic and look like they're just, not energized or anything, then you're going to know that maybe there's a lack of food or things going on. You learn your kids. The teachers will learn their kids. They'll know the families. They'll build that relationship with the parents during the parent time so that parents can feel comfortable. If they're stressing, we have resources for them, and folks we can guide them to that can help them through that to help alleviate, any abuse or that could be possibly go on with the stress, all of the virtual that parents have to go through and not being able to hold down their job because they have to be home to teach their children virtually. So we're just there, letting families know we're there to help them with whatever they need.
What about those students, Ms. Bivens? This could be for you. What about those students who are home by themselves because mom has to work? Dad got to work, or we can't. We thought we was going to send our kid to a star-rated facility, but now we can't. So now I'm going to try to trust my 6th grader that's at home to do his work, but also make sure the 1st grader gets on it, and also make sure the kindergartner or the 4-year-old that's not in school. What are we doing to make sure that our kids are? We want them to be safe, so we didn't send them to school, but now we want to make sure that they're safe at home.
So first of all, we need to have you at the table when we're having all these planning meetings, because you got more scenarios of stuff probably we didn't think about. I'm not saying that wasn't, and I know Cousin Eddie is probably listening, but I said it. We need you to have you at the table to assist us in strategizing. But we are encouraging every parent, if you are working, to put your child in a child. That's always been the case from a media campaign. Unfortunately, we can't force people to do it, but we have been for the last 3 years encouraging families to put their child in a quality early learning center.
But Ms. Bivens and you guys, I think we have to have some reality here. Reality is there are going to be a great majority of, particularly in the urban community, kids who are at home unsupervised.
Yep.
And that is a community problem. And I mean, that is reality. It's reality now, even though kids go to school. A lot of them come home after school without any supervision.
Yep.
So I fear the post-COVID, this is deeper than COVID. I fear what happens after COVID, because we're going to have a number of people who have been very in an environment that has had lots of freedom to it with no guidance. And
On
so a
top
lot
of
of our kids are going to be home by themselves.
on
A
top
lot
of
of
we're
families
taking away
are going to have to support
extracurricular
this.
activities.
Yep.
Yeah, John, I agree with you. And so, we're trying to come up with at the Urban League. We just met last week to try to come up with some strategies on what can we do, as John said, as a community advocacy group, to figure out what we can do in person during the day to help families who have to go to work. We know that Black folks are going to be the ones who are those frontline workers.
Yep.
Who will not have the flexibility of
Yep.
staying at home with their children. Like a lot of people will be able to say, I got to stay home with my kids, let me work remotely.
Right.
And so we're working on strategies right now on what can we possibly offer up to be able to help people, because we know it's going to be, as John said, it's going to be a whole new world out there with kids. And I just say this, I know what I did back in the 1800s. I'm going to say, because y'all know I'm old. What I did when I wasn't in school, I know what my son did, and he's 29. When we left him home, I know there was parties out on my back patio that they think I didn't know about, and then I found stuff later on that they tried to hide. So I can't even imagine what's going to happen when, to your point, John, kids are not going to get online. Who's going to be supervising them while parents are at home? So we know this is a community issue. And so for our community that's out there listening, know that there are entities out that are we're trying to figure this out. And we just hope you'll stay tuned. And hopefully, we will be blessed with investments made from the community, John and I, to be able to offer those culturally responsive programs.
And NCUS.
Yeah, culturally responsive programs for our African American families. So I know we probably, DJ Mr. King, I don't know if Christian, you gonna tell us we're over our time or not?
Yeah, but it's good though, because this was some real good information from both groups. Like you said, Ms. Biz, I wasn't trying to, put him out, but I'm just asking the questions like that a lot of people wouldn't want to type in or whatever.
But
these
it's
questions
true.
that we get asked every day, and it's a lot. These parents are nervous, they're scared, they don't know what to expect.
But DJ Mr. King, we got to get back to community where people. There used to be a time you walk down the street and somebody said, "Who's your mama? Who's your people?"
Yeah,
You shouldn't be doing that. If parents are going to be at work, then we need to be good neighbors to each other and check on people's kids and have conversations. And we got to get back to that.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
It's not going to be all government and it's not going to be all program. It's just at one point the community has to be the community and do those things for each other.
Right, I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree. Well, thank you all, Ms. Grimes, Mr. Gregory, Ms. Bivens, for joining us. Very, very insightful information. Let everybody know how they can contact your organizations, your schools, etc. If they want more information.
We have a Facebook page for each one of my locations. They all start with Columbus Urban League, and then I have Watkins Head Start, Southside Head Start, and Moeller Head Start. You can look them up on Facebook. You can contact us at 625-3989, area code 614. You can call me anytime. But the best way to get in touch with us is through the Facebook pages.
Okay. Mr. Greg, how can we get a hold of if a kid is interested or a parent wants some information?
If your parents want information, you can call 614-857-1811. And Mrs. Grimes, I really want to get connected with you so we can get connected with your fathers. We have 989 fathers signed up for our program with we have with Child and Family Services, and we want to work with the fathers of your daycare centers.
Absolutely, absolutely.
This last year plus this year, we're excited about having as many fathers as we do involved in our program. So definitely want to hook up so that we can get our families over to you too.
All right, Ms. Bivens.
They know how to find me. Trust me. Go on Facebook at Franklin County Department of Job and Family Services.
Okay. Again, thank you all for joining us tonight. We definitely
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Stephanie. We appreciate
All right,
you.
thanks. Talk to you soon.
So
Well,
really,
DJ, Mr. King, looks another night of good information. You know, as this pandemic and all this stuff continues to roll out, I'm hoping that we'll continue to think about you know, partnering and figuring out how we continue to disseminate information to our community.
for sure. And we're going to do this again next week. Next Monday, we'll do it. And it should be interesting next Monday because now I know you have a lot of districts starting on Monday. I know Columbus doesn't start back till after Labor Day, but, you know, maybe get some panelists on there that'll be able to tell us, like, what did that first day look like? You know,
Yeah.
you know, maybe, you know, I actually may try to, you know, let's work on trying to get a parent or a student on here as well. Like,
That's
giving
what I was
their
gonna say.
feedback, you know what I'm saying? So that would be all things that, but again, this is, like you said, man, we all learning. We're going to do this thing. We in it together, and we're going to continue to try to get this information out there.
I agree. And, you know, as we, you know, if there's also a way, if it's not Dr. Roberts, it's also important for us to continue to give out information as it relates to the pandemic. I think people, you can't hear enough about safety and why it's important, especially for a lot of us who live in intergenerational households, why we have to really trust and create those bubbles. My whole thing with my team now is I'm creating a bubble at the Urban League, just like the NBA has created their bubble.
Yeah.
I'm creating a bubble at my house, just like the NBA has created that bubble. And we all need to figure out how to create our bubbles so that we can keep our families safe.
Absolutely. Well, you make sure that you stay safe, and we will see you next week and continue to do great work in the community like you always do.
I'm trying to keep up with you. Thank you, DJ, Mr. King.
All right. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.